For another perspective, let's bring in field reporter and author of the book, Fiery but Mostly Peaceful, Julio Rosas. Julio, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I'd like to get your perspective on what we were just talking about, kind of the perception versus the reality of what's happening in Minnesota and the impact that might have on the midterms and beyond.
Well, the fact of the matter is that President Trump campaigned and won on carrying out mass deportations. Yes, he said that they were going to prioritize arresting and deporting the worst of the worst, but that's not what he only campaigned on. And then Democrats have falsely said that that's the only thing he said. No, I mean, they really had campaign rally signs at the RNC saying mass deportations now. So as someone who has covered the recent unrest in Minneapolis, it is unfortunate that the media and the activists are doing a good job at winning the PR battle, because as I can tell you that the reason why we're seeing these scenes play out in places like Minneapolis is because there are people, there are networks that are working very, very hard to do actual battles with the federal government. We're not having these types of same scenes playing out in Texas or Florida, where there is greater cooperation between state, local, and the federal government. And so I don't know how it will impact the midterms, and obviously the polling is suggesting that it's going to negatively affect it. But especially with a place like Minneapolis, the Trump administration can't back down on this, because the BLM riots from 2020, which I also covered, they got a great surge in victory sense. And what I mean by that is that they were able to successfully force the Minneapolis Police Department out of the 3rd Precinct and set it on fire. And then we saw other leftists across the country try to replicate that, because they saw that as great victory. So it's kind of, time's a flat circle, right? So now we're back to Minneapolis on a different topic. But the Trump administration, in my view, can't back down on this, because it will have disastrous effects in the long term.
Yeah, and let's talk about that, Julio, for a moment. The Department of Homeland Security, now we've got this, they reported on the arrest of a rioter who attempted to disable ICE vehicles. In a post on X, the DHS said this: during the riots, one individual was apprehended for obstructing law enforcement personnel and utilizing caltrops to deflate the tires of law enforcement vehicles. Upon apprehension, the subject was found in possession of a bag containing several similar devices. The subject was arrested. So you're on the ground in Minneapolis. You see anything else like this? What's going on specifically?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, the same networks and organizations that facilitated the chaos back in 2020, they never went away. And so they've obviously adapted to this new target, which is, instead of it being the Minneapolis police, it's now DHS. And so, yeah, during my time there, not only were they attacking DHS, but when Minneapolis police, the few times that they came to try to address the unrest that was happening outside some of the hotels, because they thought ICE was staying there, they were being pelted with rocks and bottles, and because there's snow on the ground and ice chunks on the ground because of the weather, they were throwing that at them as well. And so this is just par for the course. Like I said, these people are very organized. They are literally trained on a daily basis to go after anybody that's a threat, whether it's legitimate or not. And so this isn't going to end anytime soon, even if, let's say, that there's a truce in Minneapolis, because the immigration enforcement is going to continue, as it should, because, again, that's what the president campaigned and won on.
Julio, another reaction from Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar. In an interview with Meet the Press, Senator said ICE is making us less safe and that she will not vote to fund the agency. Do you expect more Democrat lawmakers to engage in this rhetoric prior to these budget votes?
Yeah, absolutely, and they're using this chaos that's being created again by the left. This chaos isn't being created by DHS. None of this would be happening if people weren't out there injecting themselves into situations. That I've seen it time and again, and that's why I go to these places, because this is where the conflict starts. And so, the Senate is going to do what the Senate's going to do. I know that they want the House to be called back so that they can make changes to the bill and the budget. But at the end of the day, this can't stop in terms of immigration enforcement, because as someone who covered the border crisis for 4 years, I mean, it had devastating effects on the country. And so it's very funny now to see Democrats who had nothing to say about that. They had nothing to say about the millions of people just flowing into our country. And the disastrous effects it had on them and American citizens. Now all of a sudden want to talk about immigration enforcement nonstop.
I mean, isn't this really about the census and about elections and these slim margins that Democrats have used of bodies, basically? They're using these people, Julio. I mean, that's when you start with that on its face, it tells you sort of the heart of the matter, right? This is really about votes and power and money to the Democrats.
Yeah, I think that's why, because whenever, especially during that time under the Biden administration, people were asking, well, why are they doing this? This makes no sense to have an immigration policy like an open border. They that idea of using people so that they can increase their representation in Congress certainly holds weight.
Julio Rosas, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks, Julio.
Thanks, Julio.
Thank you.